All right, Shalom. First off, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shah Bahasham Kakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and the sincere Shalom to the Akim out here that's doing game, pushing this work in truth and in sincerity. What I'm going on in this video, that the Bible is filled with hard sayings and ugly truths. Okay? And, you know, some people, you know, even saying that to some people is like, you know, it's hard for them to understand, and, you know, it's an ugly truth. Okay? Because, you know, you got to dig deep inside your spirit, you know, to deal with, you know, something that's hard to hear, or something, you know, that isn't, you know, pretty or made up, okay, or made up to be pretty, okay, or eloquent to you, okay? Because a lot of people would prefer pretty lies, you know, rather than the ugly truth. Now, I got this on ChatGPT, right? This is it says explain. I said explain what a hard saying is, and explain what an ugly truth is. Okay, and hard saying and the ugly truth are related, but they're not exactly the same thing. Okay, what is a hard saying? A hard saying is a statement or teaching that is difficult to accept, difficult to understand, or difficult to obey. Okay, the Bible itself uses this idea. John 6:60. This is a hard saying. Who can hear it? Okay, the people listening to Yahweh Shah weren't saying they couldn't hear the words. They meant this teaching is difficult to accept. A hard saying can be difficult because it challenges what people want to believe. It requires sacrifice. It goes against popular opinion. It demands accountability. It forces people to change. Okay? Love your, Matthew 5:44. Love your enemies, which, you know, that enemies is not talking about, you know, you got to break that down. Okay, who that is talking about. You know, it's, you know, a brother could be an enemy. You know, the scripture said that a man's enemies should be there of his own household. Okay? So you got to know who your enemies are. Okay? Matthew 22:14, it says, many are called, but few are chosen. Okay? You got to face the, you know, reality that you could not be of the elect. Okay? That could be a hard saying. Okay? And an ugly truth that you have to you know, deal with. You know, if you are, you know, someone that isn't of the elect for whatever reason. Okay? It's really because the Lord didn't choose you. You know, it ain't because of you know, our own will, the things that we do. Now you got some people that's going to end up taking an MOTP. Okay, that would be something. You know, why would the Lord choose somebody that, you know, honestly just defied, you know, what was inside the scriptures? You don't want the Lord to be your God. Okay? Matthew 16:24. If any man will come after me, right, let him deny himself. These are hard sayings because people naturally want comfort, acceptance, and self-gratification. Okay? And, you know, some people, you know, they're going to realize that you weren't accepted. The Lord didn't accept your sacrifice. Okay? That's you know, like Cain and Abel. You know, if you do the right thing, Scripture's talk about you'll be accepted. Okay? You know, because the Lord, you know, he doesn't operate, you know, in a sense of, you know, somebody doing the right thing for him. Okay, and this was like the hopeful elect. Okay, which once again, this is not, you know, something that you know, is based off of our own deeds or anything like that, you know. But, you know, the men of the Lord are going to be rehearsing the righteous acts. Okay? And Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, you know, he requires faith, you know, ultimately, you know, and obedience. Okay? So, obeying the scriptures and, you know, following what he told you to do, you know, the Lord ain't going to just forget your labor of righteousness, you know, if you continue on this path. Okay? If you don't give up, you don't look back. Okay? It says, what is an ugly truth? An ugly truth is an unpleasant reality that exists whether people like it or not. An ugly truth is not necessarily a command. It is often an observation about reality, human nature, society, or judgment. Ugly truths hurt because they expose things people would rather ignore. Okay? Not everyone is your friend. Some people value you only for what you can provide. Okay? A lot of women have that mindset. They only want you because of what you can give them. You know? You got some friends, you know, they only there from what you can offer them. You know? It says the majority can be wrong. Majority of people can be wrong. Okay? Just because everybody disagree with something what we teach, don't mean that what we teach is wrong. Okay? This truth that we speak is not popular. Okay? The masses are not going to, you know, fully accept this. Okay? Until they, you know, it gets put into them. Okay? In different ways. Now, some of our people that's, you know, the 2/3, they're going to have to learn by pain after destruction. Okay? The destruction after pain, however you want to say that. It says good people sometimes suffer while wicked people prosper for a time. Many people reject truth when it inconveniences them. Okay? The Bible contains many ugly truths. The heart is deceitful. Jeremiah 17:9. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Okay? That's an ugly truth about human nature. Okay? So when we, you know, the Lord knows my heart. Yeah, you got a lot of people who got that mindset. The Lord knows my heart. Well, your heart is desperately wicked. You want to go off. Okay? It says, Proverbs 14:20. It says, the poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich has many friends. Okay, and some of this stuff, man, as far as trying to get wisdom and stuff like that, getting that experience, man, is not a easy obtainable thing. Sometimes in order to get wisdom, you know, you got to go through some stuff, man. Okay? It says that's an ugly truth about how people often treat wealth and status. Okay? Hard saying, a difficult teaching, something you don't want to hear or obey, often requires a response. Right? It says love your enemies. Ugly truth, a difficult reality, something that you don't want to admit is truth, often describes how things are. Okay? And we are not sent to declare onto anybody the whole gospel. Okay? We're going to tell people just straight up what it is. Okay? It's things that, you know, in this world that we speak, it's not going to be acceptable by everybody. Okay? Like some people hear the stuff that we speak, you know, it's liable to get you fired. Okay? Break up relationships or even the things that we do. You know? Which we not out here, you know, willy-nilly just straight up, you know, doing just straight up wickedness, you know? But I'm just saying as far as, you know, keeping certain things that's inside of the Bible, you know? certain actions that, are being done where people, like I said yesterday, that real housewife of Israelite spirit, that's going on. People would see certain things, if they could look into, the windows of a Israelite home, and they see the arguments and stuff like that, or disagreements that, brothers go through, the drama that, is in some people's lives, they would look at us like, we're some of the most hateful people, We're not out here to coddle, to people's feelings, or, to try to sway you to believe a certain, what we teach, And see, if you're gonna teach, you're gonna hear what we teach, and you're gonna accept it or not. Okay? That's just what it is. And if somebody don't want to hear it, we backing it up with the scriptures and, reality and, certain points, certain logic, like I said, we don't want to go back and forth and to, getting into it with people in disagreements, and, and we will fight for the truth, defend it, because you got a lot of people out here that are liars. Now it says sometimes a Bible verse is both. Matthew 7:13 through 14, enter ye at the straight gate, for few there be that find it. This is a hard saying because people don't like hearing that the path is narrow. It is an ugly truth because it suggests that most people are not walking that path. It is in short, a hard saying is a difficult teaching to accept, while an ugly truth is a difficult reality to face. Okay? The Bible contains many of both because it aims not only to comfort people, but also to confront them. Okay? So, more scriptures on this, right? Now, it says many people read the Bible expecting only comforting messages, but the scriptures contain hard sayings, difficult judgments, and uncomfortable truths about human nature, sin, power, family, and God's judgment. Okay? Following, number one, few people will be saved, right? We read Matthew 22:14, Matthew 7:14, right? Many people struggle with the idea that the majority may not be on the path to salvation. Okay? It's hard for some people to accept that. It says following God can divide families. Okay? Matthew 10:34. I came not to send peace, but a sword. A man's foes shall be they of his own household. That's Matthew 10:36. The truth can create conflict even among relatives. Discipleship requires sacrifice. If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother, he cannot be my disciple. That's Luke 14:26. This is a hard saying because it teaches that loyalty to God must come before every earthly relationship. Okay? Many who think they know God will be rejected. Matthew 7:23, I never knew you. Depart from me, you that work iniquity. A person can be religious and still not be accepted by God. Okay? Ugly truths about human nature. Most people prefer lies over truth. John 8:45, and because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. People often reject truth when it challenges them. Okay? Human hearts are corrupt. It says, Jeremiah 17:9, we read that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. The Bible does not teach that mankind is naturally good. Okay? People are often motivated by self-interest. Okay? Philippians 2:21, all seek their own, not the things which are Yahweh Shah's. Okay, many people put themselves first. Okay, wealth and power can corrupt judgment. Proverbs 22:7, the rich rules over the poor. The Bible acknowledges social inequality and oppression. Okay, ugly truths about society. The righteous are usually a minority. Okay, Proverbs 11:21, though hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished. Truth is not determined by popularity. Ugly truths about relationships. Not everyone who claims to love you is loyal. The Proverbs 27:6. The kisses of an enemy are deceitful. Some people only stay when there is benefit. Okay? Proverbs 14:20, which we read. The poor is hated even of his own neighbor, but the rich has many friends. The Bible recognizes that many relationships are transactional. Okay? Beauty alone is not enough. Okay, Proverbs 31:30. Favor is deceitful and beauty is vain. Physical attraction does not guarantee character. Okay? And that's why a lot of people get caught up, because you think that this person, because they look attractive, that they ain't, a POS. Okay? And PO stands for piece of. Okay? You can guess the S. Okay? One of the Bible's most uncomfortable messages is that sincerity alone is not enough. Okay? A person can genuinely believe they are right and still be wrong. The Bible is full of encouragement and hope, but it is also filled with warnings, rebuke, and difficult realities. That's one reason the prophets, Yahweh, and the apostles were often opposed. Their message confronted people with truths they did not want to hear. Okay? This is Isaiah 29 and 13. It says, wherefore the Lord said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Right? When we teach, right, we talking about putting the Lord first, man, before anything. Okay? Because the Lord that sacrifice. Okay? Your woman, your children, okay, your job, whatever, your own self. You got to put the Lord first. Okay? This is Isaiah 30 and 8. It says, now go and write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come, forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not. Why don't I want to hear the laws of the Lord? Because it's not, it's difficult judgments that people don't want to hear inside of it. Okay? There's ugly truths in it. It says, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceits. Get you out of the way. Turn aside out of the path. Cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us. Okay? So it says, wherefore, thus said the Holy One of Israel, because you despise this word and trust in oppression and perverseness and stay thereon, therefore this iniquity shall be to you as a breach ready to fall, swelling out in a high wall, which breaking comes suddenly at an instant. Okay? So, people don't want to listen to what's inside of the scriptures, but they'll listen to, certain things that, that this world says, certain judgment that this world says. And that's really the crooked way. Okay? But or let's say a woman go put man on child support. That's really a crooked way, but that's an ugly truth that some brothers got to deal with. You got to be able to be prepared for that. Okay, so but people would they would say that oh yeah, go take the children away from them. Do this and do that. Things that don't line up with the scriptures. Okay, but we say that we're going to tell the truth. Whether people like it or not. Okay, we're going to tell the truth in the scriptures whether you like it or not. Okay, whether it sounds good or look good or whatever, man. That's just a part of what this ain't our word. This is the Lord's word, and we just gotta speak it, man, and believe in it. Okay. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. I want to say shalom until next time.